Good morning, good morning, good morning. I haven't done a live stream in quite a while, so I'm glad to be back. Had to take this summer off. I had a lot going on, so it was just one little piece that went away, but you know what? End of September, beginning of fall, let's do it. If you're watching me for the first time, hello, my name is Natalie, founder of Primary Focus, the Parent's Guide to Elementary School. I'm a former elementary school teacher with a passion with helping parents. So that's why I'm here today. When I left teaching, I decided to start Primary Focus to work with families because honestly, families are the real connection that make kids, that just keep kids going forward. I've worked in a lot of different types of schools. I've worked in magnet schools, public school, private. I taught internationally. I taught locally. And I've just met kids with all different types of backgrounds, all different types of circumstances, and all the ones that were doing the best, maybe their grades weren't necessarily the best, but they were consistent. You could tell that they valued school. You could tell that they were excited for their future. We're the ones with parents or caretakers that were locked into the school experience. Now, luckily enough, being locked into that school experience can look a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to mean that you're up volunteering at the school. It doesn't have to mean that you're, there for every single last event. It kind of just means you're giving a consistent, long-term, treating it like a marathon and not a sprint approach to school. It means that you're there to get the homework done. If there's no homework, you're reading with them every night. You're asking them how things are at school. You're following up with things that they said. You show concern when you need to show concern, and you root them on when it's time to root them on. You're there to advocate for them as needed. No, you don't have to talk to the teacher every day of the week. You don't have to be calling the school or up there all the time. You might not even have that close of a relationship with the teacher, though I hope you can make one. It just means that you are consistently there for your baby as they go through school. And that's what Primary Focus is all about, is giving support so you can continuously be there, but also kind of pulling back the curtain and showing what is going on in the teacher's mind so you can understand when problems do arise, or when you are wondering if you can ask for something, what is actually realistic to ask for, what the teacher's point of view might be, so that you can navigate this space more clearly. Something important to remember is that for you, this is your life. This is your child's life. You are locked in deeply because this is the stepping stones of your child's education and the rest of their life. For teachers and schools employees, though they do care very deeply and are incredibly passionate people, they have to put up boundaries because for them, this is work. And even though this is a work of the heart and people are so much more deeply involved in it than your average corporate job, they do have to put up boundaries because a lot of them have their own little ones on their own journey. They have their own needs outside of work that they have to meet too. And so sometimes we can come into kind of barriers and impasses where you're taking the time to really process something because it's a big change in your life. And for them, they do this year after year. They know how it goes. They know how it's going to end up. And so they're not as worried as you. And those are the moments where I feel like things can really break down. But that's why Primary Focus is here. I work with families. I provide a lot of content on YouTube, of course, but I also work with families one-on-one behind the scenes. And I have coursework as well, where parents can take a few hours and learn new information, help their kiddos out. So that's a little bit about me. I have a couple questions that I prepared ahead of time, but if you have questions you want to ask me live, I would love to hear those questions and answer them for you live. So please utilize the chat box so that you can ask me questions. If you're watching this replay after, I do intend to continue doing these. I took a break for the summer, but you can always leave a comment on one of these live streams and I can collect it for the next time I come around. You can email me hello@primaryfocus.tv. And you can always find me on Instagram in the DMs as well too, depending if you want to leave it publicly for people to find out about, or if you want to have more of a private conversation to get support. Okay, so before we really get into the questions, this is Pepper, by the way. Pepper's here to help out. I think it's important to take a little step to the side here and talk about what is going on in North Carolina, in eastern Tennessee and just in the Appalachian Mountains right now. I'm sure a lot of you know Hurricane Helene came through a couple days ago, and western North Carolina is absolutely devastated and destroyed. I think everybody was caught off guard with the power of that hurricane, and even though I believe it was a tropical storm strength, technically, western North Carolina is absolutely destroyed. We don't even know the extent of the damage because they are cut off from the world right now. The major interstates are all closed. I-40 is washed out, going into the border of North Carolina and Tennessee. If you've ever driven on that before, it is a very scary stretch of highway, and it is washed out completely. The roads are closed, and so right now, as far as I know, for the most part, you can really only access it by air. So I've been looking this morning at coverage, and there are helicopters, people who personally own helicopters or businesses that have a helicopter for one reason or another, just literally getting in the helicopter and bringing bottles of water and like basic supplies. We don't know the extent of the damage because these places don't have electricity. They don't have access to Wi-Fi. A lot of people are still missing. It is really upsetting to watch, and really hard to watch and see. For me, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, so about 2 hours away. We did get the tropical storm to come through, but schools are still out today in Charlotte, but fine. We were fine. Trees down, power out. My house wasn't even affected by anything. And so to see the scale of destruction 2 hours from here is really unsettling. So I just want to take a moment and talk about ways that we can help out. Of course, they are saying do not travel to this area because they need any ways that can go in don't need to be clogged up with traffic to allow people that are trying to escape the area to escape and let resources come into people. But I just want to drop a few things here, and I'm going to drop them in the links in the description after this live as well. So we have the Mana Food Bank, and these are all, I picked out organizations. These came to me from local news sources in the Asheville, Buncombe County area, as recommended, as these are already up and running existing facilities that will be able to help. So we've got the food bank, and you know what, I lied. That's the only local one. The next is the Cajun Navy. This organization cooks food for people and essentially does like pop-up food and meals. After that, we have World Central Kitchen. Now I want to note here, I don't think World Central Kitchen had a specific, I want to donate to this region. They do work internationally, but World Central Kitchen is already there and is cooking meals. So they're an excellent organization to work with. And then if you're looking to do one more special thing at home, the Red Cross, we always need blood. Blood donations are very important. So if you feel like, you want to do a little bit more than donate, or you don't want to donate, but you can donate some time and some blood, I would always recommend donating blood. This is something that I need to get back into. I used to donate blood all the time. And it's very cool because you actually get an app and they'll kind of show you where your blood ended up going. You won't learn what person used it or wherever, but you get to see the region that your blood went to, sometimes even the hospital that your blood went to. And anyway, that's just another great way to donate. So I hope that things aren't as bad as they look right now in Western North Carolina. And I'm just sort of in that phase, sitting and waiting to see other ways that we can help out. All right, let's move on and get into the live stream here. I've got a couple of questions that came into me. And again, if you want to ask a question during the live, go ahead and drop it in and we can talk it out right now. Question number 1, my child, age 5 in kindergarten, wants constant affirmation for the smallest things. How much is too much, and how can I show him he needs to do hard work to get the praise? This is a really interesting question because I think everybody has a different level of what even is praise, how much is too much. For me, I'm somebody, I love a compliment. Compliment me all day long. I don't feel uncomfortable with praise unless I don't agree with the praise for some reason. And I'm somebody that I think is very comfortable with praise. Now, I have friends that like don't even want you to like make eye contact with them when you're saying something nice because they have trouble accepting it or they're embarrassed by it or whatever it is. So I think as I answer this, I think it is good to kind of sort through like what is your level of praise, because what I'm saying, you're going to have to figure out how this matches you and what you believe. So how much praise is too much praise? How can we get him to do the hard work? And keeping in mind, this baby is 5. First, I just want to kind of ground us here before we answer, and looking into child development and what is appropriate for children at certain ages. Children that are about under the age of 8, you start to see this transition at age 7, 8, 9. Under the age of 8 or so, look for approval from the stakeholder adults in their lives. So that is, the adults that are living at home, teachers, maybe if they have a coach, if they have, a babysitter that they're consistently working with, they are looking for the adult in their life to give them that affirmation. And when they get older and they start to get to that 8 years old or so, it switches from praise from adults to praise from peers. And this is when we start to hear like, oh my gosh, the preteen, the teenager thing, they only care what their friends want to do. They don't want to hang out with me anymore. Or, such and such said this to them and they've been anxious about it all week. But it's something you can't change about yourself. So I think that's just really important to understand that young kids developmentally want your praise. They want that from you, and that is totally normal, and it's okay. As kids get older, we can work with them, of course, to look within for that confidence, and we can work on that now. We will talk about that. But that's the thing. So you're going to have to kind of understand that like kids are going to want more praise from you now than when they're older, and enjoy this phase, because soon this baby might not care what you have to say. What I would do is, if he's expecting praise for every little last thing, maybe you can start to switch from good job, you're awesome, that's great, for like leaving your shoes by the door. No, take your shoes off, leave them by the door. This is just a routine. This is just an expectation. Is start to say thank you instead of great job or you're the best. And just like find these kind of basic things and switch to thank you. Because one, this is not necessarily calling somebody a superstar because they, did something incredibly normal and run of the mill. Excuse me. But it also is just really good guidance about how to speak in general. You want your child to be thanking everybody. It's a good modeling of manners. So switch to saying thank you. The next thing is check in on your routines. And just make sure you have a really consistent routine in your home, right? So like if you are always changing around where the shoes are left, for example, or like you don't have like a very consistent setup, things really do look day to day. Maybe you don't have like, when you put the crackers away, some people, the crackers go on the same shelf every time. Some people, the crackers are on the counter today. They're in the cabinet tomorrow. We left them in the car. The crackers don't have a home base. So kind of check in on those routines. Does your child know the routines of your household? Do you need to make some routines in your household? This goes for classrooms. I'm saying this because when I ran a classroom, it was really important to have a home base for things. And we had to spend a lot of time at the beginning of the year teaching and praising and having the kids understand, like, this is where the backpacks go, this is where the pencils go, and I'm going to teach you, I'm going to reinforce this, I'll even praise you a little bit. But after a few weeks of this, no, like, put your backpack away and let's start the day, because that's done now. That's when it becomes routine, when they don't have to think about it. So I'd check in with some of that, and I'd be thanking them along the way in the time that you are training them to do this. I know training, some people might not agree with that word, but I just mean like as you're creating your routine. And then the next thing is I would do a confidence check with your child. Is your child proud of themselves? He's looking for affirmation from you. If you feel like he's looking for a little too much affirmation from you, I would check in and see if he is proud of himself, if he is confident with himself, and role play with him and work on that self-talk and show like, I put my shoes by the door. Gosh, I love keeping a clean home. We have a great, nice, organized home here. And just start saying those things out loud where you are praising your own self. And he will start to think that way too and give himself the little pat on the back that he wants when he does leave his shoes by the door. So remember, child development wise, this is normal. Change the phrase to thank you and do a confidence check to make sure that he is thanking himself and he is proud of himself, because ultimately he is going to have to be with himself every day for the rest of his life. And you want him to know that he can give himself the appreciation he deserves. I hope that helps. If you're listening right now, please feel free to put any clarifiers in the comments. Let's move on to question number 2. Let me take a sip of my tea first. Question 2. We know we won't be able to afford preschool. Is this bad? And how can I help my child be prepared for kindergarten? This is a great question. I'm going to look here and get a link. I actually have a video about this because you are not alone. Nobody can afford to preschool. Preschool is so expensive in our country, so incredibly expensive in our country. I think in this video, I did a little bit of research and it was like $10,000 was the average price of a preschool, and that's not even full day preschool. So if you don't have the ability to have a stay-at-home parent, I'm dropping this video in the comments here. I will put it in the replay when I'm done. If you don't have somebody staying at home with your child, whether it's a stay-at-home parent or the support of a grandparent, a lot of times you're looking at a half-day preschool where you're dropping them off at like 9 a.m. You pick them up at 12, and it's like, well, now I'm paying for childcare and transportation on top of this $10,000 a year preschool. It's a racket, honestly. It is so expensive. And right now, yes, it's an election year. We hear a lot of buzz about preschool and daycare grants and things like that, but none of those things exist. And honestly, I think it'll be years before those things do exist, if they happen at all. So yeah, most people can't afford preschool. It's a lot. Or if they do, it's a small version of the preschool or something like that. So I want you to know it is okay. It's going to be fine. Yes, we hear people saying your child has to go to preschool, otherwise they're at a disadvantage. I used to be somebody that said that too, and I have absolutely been humbled by how many kids I've met that were so ready for school. So the video that I sent you gets more into this, but a couple of things I want to highlight here. It is really hard to replace socialization when you are doing learning at home. So if you're going to have to figure out what makes sense with your schedule and with your budget, but look around for free opportunities or extracurriculars, sports, day camps, maybe over the summer, those like week-long experiences, things that are going to be replicating school. Story time at the library, the museum's doing a free presentation for members. That kind of thing is really helpful because they're getting the experience of looking and listening at another adult that they don't necessarily know. Having to sit for the presentation, a lot of those things, like it is very important that the children are following expectations of sitting properly and waiting their turn, especially because safety things come into play or there's so many children there. And so get your child those socialization opportunities. If they're always playing with the same kids or they only ever play with siblings, like try to get them out to like different playgrounds or places that they're not used to going to where they will have to meet other children and understand what it's like to kind of use your manners and get to know somebody. A lot of children, if they always play with the same friends or the same family members, cousins, things like that, they will play a lot rougher with those kids than what would be appropriate to play with kids at school. So for them, like getting that code switching and understanding here, this is what school play looks like. This is what home play looks like. This is what it looks like when you just met somebody and you don't know how they play. These things are really important. Now, for the rest of this, I really want to encourage you to enroll in my course, Prepare Your Child for Kindergarten. This course, it starts October 15th. It is a self-paced course over 5 weeks. So every single week, you'll get sent an email with the couple of videos to watch. It's never more than an hour of material. They're all broken into short 10 to 15 minute videos. So you can listen in the car or, do one every day over the course of the week. And then I have live Q&A sessions throughout it as well in case you want to ask any questions. So this course, Prepare Your Child for Kindergarten, is designed for families with a 3, 4, 5-year-old who's going to kindergarten in the next year or two. Pardon me. Going to kindergarten in the next year or two. So this is a great time if your child is in the 1 year out mark from kindergarten. Great time to enroll. And I will walk you through how kindergarten has changed from when we were kids to now. Give you kind of just an understanding of the school system. I will work with you to help you understand. Goodness gracious. I will work with you to help you understand as well literacy foundations so that you can raise a really strong reader, a child that loves reading, a child that loves writing, those skills that you can do at home now to help build those things. Your child doesn't need to go into kindergarten reading, and there are a lot of skills, prerequisites that a child needs to have before they can read. If they only start those in the first couple months of kindergarten, they'll need time before they can start reading. But if you've started some of these activities ahead of time, which are often seen in preschools, your child will be ready to start reading a little bit faster because it's just a process. These things take time. Same thing with math foundations. I will teach very easy, fun games that you can do with your child on a daily basis that take no prep on your part, show you the kind of questions that you can be asking, the way you explore the world with your child. So for example, we'll get into how to do a skill called subitizing, and subitizing helps us develop number sense so your child can really understand what a number is. So when I say the number 5, if your child only knows the numeral 5, they might not really understand what 5 means because that doesn't show us any quantity of the number 5. So how to work with your child so that when I say 5, they understand, oh, okay, 5 is this, 5 is how many years old I am, 5 is 5 apples, 5 is 5 dots, and what 6 and 4 look like in comparison to that. So these are very, very easy activities that you can do to help your kiddo out. We will get into important social emotional skills, which is like making friends, which is self-soothing, which is so important. Ways to teach your child to calm their own selves down. That can be a really hard part about kindergarten because a lot of times young children are in extremely small settings, or they're one-to-one with an adult and a parent. And so there is a lot more opportunity for the parent to calm them down and work with them and give them a big hug through big feelings. Yes, things absolutely kids need and deserve. But in kindergarten, when we are looking at one teacher and 20 kids in the classroom, it's going to be to their advantage if your child knows how to soothe themselves, take that deep breath on their own, calm down, understand when to ask to sit out because they need time to themselves. And these are all things that children are perfectly capable of doing. You just have to know how to teach them to do these things. So those social emotional skills, life skills that are really important, y'all please start taking your child to the public bathroom because when you go to school, you are just using a public bathroom all the time. And a lot of kids don't know how to do it. They're scared to go into the bathroom by themselves. They're not really by themselves. They have their peers, but they're scared. They're having bathroom accidents because they don't know how to manage their time in the bathroom. I've never had to wait before to go into the stall. So these are really important life skills. So we'll talk about a lot of easy, low lift things. And then of course, separation anxiety. A lot of kids, even the most confident kids, will surprise you and get really, really scared going to kindergarten. Even kids that went to daycare consistently, they get those couple weeks off, that month off for the summer. It's time to go to kindergarten. They're acting like they never left the house before. So ways to anticipate this and ways to prevent it. And if it is happening, important ways to cope with it to help your child out. The kindergarten course today is the last day of super early birds pricing. So right now it is $100 off. It is $149 to enroll. The price goes up tomorrow. This is September 30th that I am live. It's the last day to get that pricing. It goes up tomorrow. So take advantage of the super early bird pricing. Normal price is $249. Right now it's $149. So hope you can take advantage of those savings. I'd love to see you in class. If you're watching this and you're wondering if this is right for you, is this something that you need? You want more details? I've got the website here, which I'm going to drop, and I'll make sure is in the replay, that you can go check out. I have a couple videos on there to kind of describe it for you. Also, send me an email. Let me know what questions you have. We can hop on a call or email back and forth, figure out if this is right. hello@primaryfocus.tv. Or, DM me, leave a comment on this video. We can figure out if this is right for you. The good news is you have these supplies forever. So once I send you the videos, they are yours. So even if you're watching this and you're like, gosh, my child is 2, you could buy it now and just kind of, do it when you're ready, or halfway follow along, or maybe do it now and then rewatch it in a year when your child is a little bit older. That's totally an option. But I hope to see you in class, and please take advantage of that early bird pricing because it goes up by $100 tomorrow. Okay, let me get back to my notes here. What was the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about? Okay, question number 3. This one kind of broke my heart. My second grader is crying after school every day and napping. She just seems really exhausted, but when I ask her, she says nothing is wrong. She didn't do this last year. Any advice to help? This is interesting. I do want to talk about this because we see this a lot, especially in the lower grades, in that kids, when they go to school, they are code switching, which means they are showing up with a different version of themselves all day, right? We have to do this when we go to work too. You button up a little bit. A lot of people, sometimes their voices change a little bit. You kind of smother yourself a little bit to go to school, to work. And kids do this at school too. They're being asked to pay attention all day. They can't just speak freely. They need to wait their turn, or, they don't know what's going on. So it's like kind of exhausting. School is a really, really long day for kids. And I think we have to make a little bit of space for that. I want to point out here, this is September, so your child's probably been in second grade for a couple of weeks, maybe a month or 2, depending on the state, but it's very early in the school year. And so I think your child probably is just exhausted and tired and doesn't have the words to say this. Now, I do think it's worth keeping an eye out, probing, reaching out to the teacher and explaining what's going on. Teacher might have a little bit of insight for you. Teacher might also just start watching and seeing, like, is something happening on the bus on the way home? Is there somebody bothering you? Are we noticing that after lunchtime the crash happens? Like, there could be something else going on here where maybe your child isn't eating enough during the day. They're not hydrated. Somebody's bugging them in class and it's making them upset. Maybe their worst subject of the day is also the last subject of the day. So they're not ending on a high note at the end of the day. They're kind of getting the wind taken out of them because this subject is hard. So I would get in contact with the teacher, let them know what's going on, ask if they have any insight, and you could submit it just like what you said to me. Like, it doesn't need to be anything, unless you have specific details, like it doesn't need to be a very long email. It can just be you asking, is something else going on? Because they can do a little bit of investigating too. They have better access to your bus driver, for example. Yeah. And then other than that, I would just give your daughter space to nap and be. And maybe if they're really exhausted like that, be taking a look at the bedtime and things like that. But sometimes kids just need a little bit of space. And if building in a 20-minute cool off time is what she needs, I think you can cater to that. What I would worry about is if we're coming home and taking like a 2-hour nap, because that's a really long time. That's, and then you wake up, go to dinner and go back to bed. That's not going to be healthy to do. But I think you can adjust what you're doing at home and build in a cool down time, and maybe build a little bit of like journaling or reflection, or like a walk around the neighborhood. Find something that is a peaceful, calm activity, either to replace the nap or after the nap, to let your child decompress and kind of come back into themselves. Keep me posted on this. I'm curious if you learn anything else if you learn something else, I think I can help you a little bit more clearly. But I do think that there's a space in this world where your daughter just is really tired, or she's adjusting to something, or she's growing and needs a little bit more rest and downtime. Okay. So closing out here, sign up for the Prepare Your Child for Kindergarten course. If this isn't for you, send it to a friend who has a child this age. Let them know about the course. Like I said, the price goes up tomorrow. This is the last day to get it for $149. It does include a membership to Starfall Learning, which is an excellent elementary school app for kids for learning. That has a paid membership. You get a free membership included with this course. I love Starfall. I used it when I was teaching, and a lot of teachers do. It's an excellent educational app for kids. So even it starts for kids that are about age 4. They have a preschool program, and then it goes kindergarten to age grade 5. So you want to take advantage of that membership that comes with it. Hope to see you in the course. If I don't see you in the course, subscribe to the YouTube. You can find me on Instagram at Primary Focus. Reach out for a personal conversation. These are all questions I have submitted over time, but if you really want to get into it, I do one-on-one consult calls with families. My favorite is the is my child ready to go to kindergarten call. This is a special call where we kind of talk about the pros and cons of sending your child early, late versus early or late. Depending on what your child is like, their personality and things like that. A lot of families have babies with those kind of summer birthdays, and they have a choice when they send their child to school. I hope to see you at another live stream soon. Stay in touch. Let's not forget to help people in Western North Carolina, and I will see you next time.